results in your life only change when you decide this is my bottom. And that bottom can go as deep as you allow it, all the way to death.
Do you love this business, or do you just have a relationship with it because you've already invested too much money and invested too much time to leave? If you could write one paragraph to the version of yourself in January or February 2026,
We're moving out of my apartment this weekend. I liquidated $500,000.
what would you tell him?
I tell myself to,
Jordan Dermengen, nice to see you again. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's good to be back.
Welcome back to Founder Interviews, episode 5. And we're gonna jump straight in with a personal question. If you could write one paragraph to the version of yourself sitting in that apartment of yours in January or February 2026, what would you tell him?
I tell myself to have faith, trust the process. You know things are gonna get a little tougher. I think I was stressed out at the time and I was anxious. I knew things couldn't continue that way, but to have faith would be the key message of what I would tell myself. Things were inevitably going to change, and I think I knew that. It takes time for things to change. It takes reflection. It takes confronting your reality. And I think that's something that took place over the last 3, 4, 5 months, however long it's been, and it's all been for the better. I've been able to look internally, do what I've needed to do, and I'm grateful for it. And I'd say that, if there was good times or bad times, have faith.
And faith you did have, for sure. Speaking of the hard times, I'm pretty sure in March or early April, Arten finally started being in the net positive. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, well, we're in the green. The changes that we made as a result of that pulled back our spend about $50,000 a month, tightened the team, got rid of some people that were maybe just not the right fit, didn't really align with the type of intensity and level of detail we need in order to succeed. The spirit and the attachment to the company vision, and it's been game changing. I think everyone in the office right now, everyone in the company is much more aligned with what we're trying to do, is inspired by the mission and the vision. I feel like we're moving like a unit, and I feel like spirals is the wrong word. It basically spins upwards. When we're all supporting each other, when we're all feeling like we're a unit, we feed off each other's energy, and that's exactly the feeling you want in a company. Breed a proper culture, and like I said, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, and like a wise man once said to me and to everyone in the office, we only work our whole lives, so might as well have fun while doing it. You've fired a lot of people because they were mailing it in, right? I just want to know, did you eliminate those people because they were actually failing at their job, or because the version of you who hired them no longer exists and they belonged to that version?
A good question. I think some of it was mutual. Some people have left. Some people knew that it just wasn't working out. Yeah, some people we just had to part ways with, and I'd say that it's a mixture of both. They just weren't no longer aligning with the company. They weren't giving their best effort. They weren't developing as individuals, and their contributions weren't developing over time. In order for a company to succeed, right, it takes a lot of the human spirit. You have to will your way into building, into creating. And in a small company like this that's bootstrapped, it really is a matter of making something out of nothing. We don't have enough managers here. We don't have even enough leadership, right? And it's the people that step up. That is the essence of leadership here, because there's always a gap to fill. And it's made it so, we've had these interns that have come this week, and there's just a whole new energy at the office, and it feels like we've turned a leaf. It feels like there's a new chapter. And it's a great feeling to know that when you persist, you find a way to survive. There's going to be a new day and a new opportunity.
Do you love this business, or do you just have a relationship with it because you've already invested too much money and invested too much time to leave?
I love the business. It's my grandfather's name on the business. It started with a passion for my city and providing hospitality and accommodations for those visiting the city, getting to know the city that I was so fortunate to grow up in. Then now I feel like we're tackling a real issue that kind of strikes really young people when they first decide to move out of their parents' apartment. I mean, that's really who I think about when we focus on the mission of making renting easier. I saw a news article this week. More people than ever are living with their parents right now in the Western world, in North America, and I mean, at some point, these people will move into their own place, and it's less likely that they're going to own a home. They're going to need to rent a home, and the process from realizing that they need a place to going about searching for it and then securing it as a rental. Our mission is to make that process easier for people, less intimidating, less ambiguous, and just easier. Yeah. Bring technology to the forefront. What's happening in AI, what's happening just in tech in general, should be brought to the rental market, and we want to be at the a leader in that space. With the team we have right now, it's looking more and more plausible, and I'm gonna keep giving it my absolute all until we break into doing that.
Do you ever scare yourself wondering why you actually contribute now that AI basically does most of your work and you call yourself the orchestrator?
I think one thing that maybe is a little intimidating to think about and just daunting, and I don't know if it's necessarily true, but I maybe, starting to realize that this next decade, this next 5 years even, could be the last years for humans to actually create companies, and be at the forefront of building a company. Yeah, the way things are progressing, the way it's just kind of eating up tasks and projects, objectives. I mean, just the way it's being implemented across the workspace. You have to think that we don't even know what's coming. Soon these are going to take like physical form, not just chat and agentic form. I love building a business. I love my company, of course, but I love creating. I love willing my vision into the world. For that soon to maybe be better off done by some artificial intelligence rather than myself or any other peer or human. It's a little scary to think about, for sure, and I want to make sure, while it makes sense for me to focus on my entrepreneurship journey and my career, I can have success, and I can take my vision to the world and then ride that wave and be at the forefront of what's happening and constantly challenge myself. That's where my perspective's at right now, at least.
So what does Arten do that 90% of other property management companies do not do?
Well, I like to think that we orientate ourselves and think through first principles rather than status quos. We have these interns in here right now, and 2 of them are tech interns, and we're going to hire a 3rd. And it's been pretty awesome to just sit around a table, get a transcript running, and really just talk about, okay, if you were in a renter's shoes, aka like you basically are, you're going to be leaving university next year or the year after, and soon you're going to have to rent a place. Make it easier for you to go about renting a place when you land on a platform. And let's take the mobile experience for an example, or let's take the desktop experience for example. Which one are you more likely to do? Okay, well, if it's the mobile. You think you're going to start on your phone? Okay, then let's work on the phone, right? So we're really peeling it back to what matters most. And if our end objective is to make renting easier for people, as simply put like that, how do we get there most effectively and efficiently? And what bottlenecks are going to be addressed and on the journey there? And just tackle it rather than look at what that company's doing, look at what this company's doing. Of course, you can take inspiration from people that you think are doing it right, but when you hit something like, I don't know, how the calendar is going to look like when you book a showing or when you select dates for a midterm rental, just thinking to yourself, does this make sense? What would make it so it's a little easier for me? Would the date specifically select themselves, let's say, based on some of the criteria or the cookies or how I built my profile coming onto the platform. Would that make something easier? So I think that philosophy is definitely something that we do differently than other companies. We try not to look at competitors too much. We know we're young. We know we're different. Two, I'd say, what we're doing on our platform is just like above and beyond already, and it's only showing so much right now. I'm really excited about the next 2 months. We're building this three-step question on our platform that I think is really cool, and it starts with what I think are the most three important questions when you are trying to decide to rent a place. Starts with how long are you staying? Let's say you're trying to find a place for a year. And then there's an over-under as to your budget. And the median rent in Vancouver, for the most part, over the last 5 years has been $2,500. So let's say it's under, and we're trying to find something economically friendly. And then I'd say, like, especially for our generation, and I think what polarizes location is, are you trying to stay in the heart of the city or closer to nature? And these were just three questions that are just make it so we can get cut right to who this person is without them even making a profile. So let's say the heart of the city. After that, there's going to be an AI search bar where you can just add some more information, but you're also going to be able to just browse through our properties or take a look at things that we also suggest you might like, but there was going to be a curated list for you. And then you can also pull down the results we bring for you and just search through the map. And this is a redesign that we just put into practice this week that we're super excited about. And this is going to be something we're continuously working on. And I'd say that focusing on the tech, focusing on our platform rather than just our services. Of course, our services lead the way, and that's going to always be at the forefront of our quality is what we do in real life. But I mean, it's merging every year. What's happening on platforms versus what's happening in real life, and we want to make sure that they're both improving.
What is Orton's biggest cultural problem right now that you haven't fixed yet in the office?
We're early on in a big shift in our culture. Today we're actually taking the whole team to Earl's, and I'm giving them a $500 spend to get drinks and lunch at 3 o'clock to enjoy the first Friday for our first week of the internship and spring and summer season. But I'd say stepping up. I can't work with people who watch the clock anymore. I can't work with people who wait for direction. I need people that are here to get ahead with their career, see this company as a vehicle, take a ride on, and take their life to another level. And that, and it's a rare thing. But it takes people who have agency. It takes people who are incomplacent, who want to live an amazing life and know that they have to earn that amazing life. So, I mean, these interns, they've made my year, honestly. I interviewed about 25 people through April, and I was blown away with the candidates we had. We actually had to turn down a lot of cool people, some great candidates. But the people we chose have come in here and they've brought energy, like I've said. And honestly, I got the content and putting ourselves out there the last year to thank for that. They looked into what this company is about, saw how different we are, saw that they could come in here and actually see their work realized, and I think that's what made them so inspired and motivated to be a part of this. Thank you, Fady. Thank you for being a huge part of that and attracting this talent. It's made it so it feels like we have new life.
Yeah, you're welcome, I guess.
There we go.
How much are you making from the website? How much are you making from Airbnb? Is that percentage like lower or is it more?
Well, Airbnb takes about 14%, which is ludicrous. And prior to these regulation changes and some of the updates Airbnb made to please their shareholders, they used to take less on long-term stays. Now, the majority of our Airbnb bookings are actually long-term stays, so they're 90-day plus bookings. But now Airbnb is consistent with their 14% charge, and it's actually happening on bookings that are more than 90 days. So they used to take a lesser, I think it was 5% on these 90 days, which made it so both sides could meet and hit a transaction price with less friction. But now let's say you rent a one bedroom for 3 grand a month, furnished rental, right? So there's going to be a furnished premium. Well, that 9,000 for 3 months is getting tacked on another 14%, which is another $1,200 to $1,400 plus the taxes. It's made it so it's just like it's just difficult to bridge the customer and the client in the market as we are the bridge makers, essentially the marketing, we're the management, right? So our platform, there is no fee. Once Be a Pro is out, we are going to start charging 1% to our clients for bookings sent to the open market, which is radically more affordable. And I'd say our platform isn't doing as well as I'd like this year. That being said, we had to halt development from January since the crisis happened and had to pull back our spending. But we're moving faster than ever, and it's just week one. We have these new designs that we're putting together. We're basically reconfiguring our back end to allow Be a Pro to be a subsection of our platform. And yeah, August 14th is when we're going to go to market with Be a Pro, and I'm incredibly excited for that. So, I was once told not to talk too much about future plans, rather just focus on them and let them become a thing. So I'll leave it at that.
Mystery, okay, I like it. We will just let events unfold and then we can ask about it.
Yeah, exactly. We can allude to them.
What version of Arten would you be proud to hand over to your kid in 20 years, 30 years time?
I'd like to hand over a company that was a really amazing place to work at. Made it so people developed and contributed to something that innovated in the market, maybe made a new market, was a pioneer in where it was like, wow, that company changed the game. That's what I want to do before I step away as CEO one day.
Now, you said quality is how you started Arten, and meanwhile, operations took a beating for the last 3 years. Did Arten lose its soul somewhere, or did it lose because of execution from the team?
No, yeah, I'd say that Arten lost its soul. That's a good way to put it. I was a chicken with my head cut off for a good 2.5 years. I had to come up with a plan, and I didn't know what the plan was. And I had people quitting on the company, constant turnover, constant holes to patch. And it just made it so we didn't have a solid foundation to. You never know what the future holds, but it does feel like we have our strongest foundation since. And quality in our operation, quality in our service fulfillment is taking top priority right now. But it's in terms of people, in terms of the right minds and the right leaders, it's still not done yet. I'm in a place where I don't contribute in the front line whatsoever, and if I do, it's a problem. So it's about getting the right people that can and will. I don't mean to sound arrogant or conceited by saying this, but this is the most I've ever grown to start a year, and it's because it's been one of the hardest years. And I said that last year was hard, and I said the year before that was hard, but I've really acted on some things that I was procrastinating changing and holding on to. And I think that's because a big lesson that I learned this year is how to let go. Wanting something so bad, or controlling this or that. It's you can want something really bad and you can work really hard, but it's life. And it's just there's so many variables. And there's so many people and that you have to work with, and it's going to be what it's going to be. Your job is just to be your best you. The outcomes, the results in your life only change when you decide this is my bottom, and that bottom can go as deep as you allow it, all the way to death. For me, I almost lost my business. I had people that I thought we were going to be loyal to the end together leave and quit. And I was holding on to habits and just things that weren't serving my energy the right way, that I knew, I didn't want to change. And I thought, balance in life, and, I'm human and I'm allowed to have my vices, or I'm allowed to kind of run away from childhood traumas or whatever until I decide, but, I wasn't, I knew it couldn't go that way. So I chose my bottom. I said, this is the worst my life's going to get. And I'm going to build from here, and I'm going to go step by step. And I'm just going to make the right decision. Even though I make the right decisions in so many other areas, and it's not like I was, a bad guy or doing bad even. It's just that relatively to me, it wasn't good enough. That's when you start fighting against gravity. What's pulling you down, and you start to climb.
The last question is, what's the decision that you've made in the last 12 months for Artem that you wish you could just take back?
I felt like I had other people that were on the same page, and then I think I gave too much control to those that were in over their heads, and then also I was just too loose. I was just too loose, and I was dealing with too much, and it took me a little too long to wake up.